Hey everyone, my name is Connor Duwald. I have been tasked with designing and implementing a new mechanic into this tile-based game project. This is my standalone game. My main mechanic is that when the player steps on the message tile, I want a coin sound to appear so the player it sounds as if they're stepping on the tile. And then I also want a bunch of different colored blocks to appear so that way the player knows that's the correct path to go. If the player steps in the wrong spot, I have a sound that plays, a pit spawns, and a fountain appears. It stays like that so that way the player knows that was the incorrect path. The player also can't access that block again. So once the player steps on the message tile, it acts like a pressure pad, pressure plate. A coin sound will appear and all of the tiles, you'll be able to see them. Awesome. Now you can see the correct path, and you found out before that if you walk on the wrong tiles, you die. Basically die, you get respawned back to the start. When the player steps off of this pressure pad, I want a trickling sound, and I want all these tiles to very quickly disappear. So that way the player needs to remember what the correct path was. Sweet. So now I can try to navigate. I died. Try to navigate. And as you can see, the pits stay there to kind of create a trail for you. So that way you can have some sort of recollection of the past, see the correct way, ultimately just trying to reach this goal. I pulled inspiration from a few different sources. There's a game called Monochrome World that utilizes the black and white colors to focus the player on that one. And in this game, it's yellow. So the memory tiles are yellow. It keeps you centralized on that yellow path because everything else is black and white. I also pulled inspiration from, I guess I could say, Squid Games, the glass path that breaks when the player steps on them. That's where the pit spawns and the player gets respawned back to the start when they step on the wrong memory path. Alright. So for my tiles, I didn't mess with the basic tile at all. This one stayed the same. For my tile false path, this is where on entered I cast to movable and I'm moving the player back to the spawn tile. So I tried using destroy actor and a few other methods of killing the player or destroying the pawn, but moving the player back to the spawn tile was the quickest and most seamless way in runtime for the player to be killed. After that, I want a sound to appear. Um, that's where the falling sound is. The player sounds like they're falling as the pit spawns, so it just sounds like they're dying. On exit, I have this delay because otherwise the player kind of zips through the world in runtime and it looks bad. So this delay just fixes that. On exit, it sets the new tile to pit. So that's where you see the tile change very quickly. As soon as the player gets respawned on enter, they then get exited off the tile, which turns it into a pit. This is the fountain animation that you see spray out from the pit. Just a cool visual for the player to feel immersed within the world. And that's everything for my false tile. And once again, that's the tile just about everywhere that spawns the pit. For my tile floor, I did not mess with at all. There still is nothing in here. For tile memory, first I'll show the viewport. I have it set to a black tile so that way everything looks the exact same until you step on that pressure pad. So in the construction script I have nothing. In the event graph I have nothing, just the parent. But then here are my two functions that blink from yellow back to black. So I took inspiration from the slide tile. It's just setting the material from one color using the target base tile, and then this blink back is setting it back to that original black color. Where these functions are being called and used is within my message tile. So this message tile, well, this is a macro I had to create to put a delay within my for each loop. So the only thing I did here was put in a delay input. Here. But anyway, my event graph, shows on entered, I want to find all the memory tiles. So on entered, I want the player to see all the yellow tiles that are currently black though. So in my function find memory tiles, I filter through the array, the target map tile array, and I want to find all of my memory tiles. And then I call that filtered array my memory array. So now later on, I can use that memory array. Anyway, I got a little bit too ahead of myself. So on entered, I'm finding the memory tiles. And then I also want it to play that sound so that way the player feels like they're stepping on the pressure pad. Then it loops through the array, through the memory array. So, like I said before, it's looking through the entire array and it's only finding the memory tiles. So now I have my memory tile array. So now I can come back in here and loop through all of my memory tiles and tell them to blink yellow. Now on exit, so when the player steps off that pressure pad, I still want it to find all memory tiles. So figure out which ones are all yellow currently. I want it to play a 2D sound. That's the trickling sound, so it sounds like they're disappearing. And then the same thing. This is my for each delay though, which puts, this is a for each delay, which is different because I have this delay input, and in here, here's my delay input. But it's different because that's what adds the slowly fade. If I change this number input to slower or faster, it's going to make those yellow tiles disappear slower or faster. Because then in the loop it's saying to blink back to yellow. I'm sorry, blink back to black. So on entered, it's finding them all and it's telling all of them to blink yellow. And then on exit, it's finding them all and it's telling all of them to slowly, this time, blink back to the original color black. For my tile pit, the only thing I did was I changed the walls, all 4 of them, to white, just to blend in better with my environment. I didn't touch the tile slide. This tile starting line, didn't really need to make. It's just a white tile. There's no functionality. I should take this out. and just color these tiles. But that's okay. My tile wall, the only thing I did was change this cube to a different material instance, white color, same as the tile pit.